Video installment of Rob's Art Supply Reviews. Thanks to Derwent, a British company that pretty much invented pencils centuries ago, I've got some beautiful new supplies to review, but they're not oil pastels, so they go on my Blogspot blog. Derwent Inktense Blocks. Now these are something completely different. I've got the Inktense pencils. They rock. I love those things. They're ink in a stick. You want to do ink painting, you want to do sumi-e, you want to do anything that's permanent and colorful, Derwent Inktense pencils will do it. But now they're in block form. They come in little sticks, a bit like the Prismacolor art sticks, except that I like their texture a bit better. Let's have a good look at the sticks themselves. There they go, and there's a little information packet. You can see they're close to the same size as pastel sticks, Connie crayons, a little larger than Connie crayons, but like the Prismacolor art sticks, and they're the same core material as Inktense pencils. What this does, they're rewettable once. They turn into ink. They dry waterproof. You can grate them off on sandpaper or the new grate and shake that I don't have yet, but you can get it if you're in the UK. Or just shave it off with a knife into a little dish like your porcelain palette. Put in a couple of drops of water, and you have liquid ink anywhere you happen to be. There's my porcelain palette. All I have to do is just scrape it in there on the bottom. You can see I'm getting a few drops, a few crumbs there from the stick. You can do this with the pencil too. Spritz a little water in there. And I've got liquid ink. Pick that up with a brush, and I can paint anything I want to. Let's see, let's grab a watercolor brush here. There we go. Now that'll make a thin wash. I think I need a bit more color in it. So I'm just going to scrape the stick in there a couple more times. Yeah, that's getting good and strong. Like the pencils, the Inktense blocks are very strong. A little goes a long way with this stuff. And once it's down, it will dry waterproof, especially in this form. Let's open up my Inktense journal here. I won this in a contest, one of their giveaways on the Facebook. And here's a stroke done with the ink in my... I can paint with that when it dries. It doesn't matter if I go over it because it will not come up. That's the advantage of these when you're going over them with watercolor or anything else. You're really not going to have a problem going over it more than once. This has been drawn with the sticks and then washed. We're going to do something like that again in a moment. Okay, here we go with a fresh journal page, 24 Inktense blocks, and a Derwent Water Brush. Now this is a nylon brush. It's got water in the handle. You notice the handle's got this interesting shape, almost like a ginger jar base. It holds a little more water than the cylindrical ones. I really like the brush itself. It comes to a good point. And of course, like any water brush, Sakura makes them, Nietzsche makes them. There's a lot of good brands of these, but I like the Derwent one because the brush is good. It's right up there with the best ones, which I think is the Sakura. The lovely thing is that you can take that with you in these handy little blocks, and you can sketch anything you want anywhere. Let's try for something simple here, like a clematis. We'll do a flower. Flowers are easy. Just sketch. Now these handle a little differently from the ones that I've tried from other brands, particularly the Prismacolor art sticks, which you could wash like that if you use thinner. Prismacolor's product is done with Prismacolor core material. These are sticks made with the Inktense core material. They're exactly the same thing, but very cost effective because they're woodless. Just sketching in some petals loosely, I think a clematis has 6 of them, so let's go for 6. Get some lines here on them. And now we're going to shade this with a little bit of color. Started with the violet, but let's get some related colors in there. Get a little blue. You notice that I'm getting a lovely scumbling effect when I'm using the end of the stick. If I wanted, I could get a full, very broad stroke by using the whole side of the stick. Let's try that with a nice leafy green here. Let's give us a leaf. The side of the stick. Ah, yeah. Look at that. I can cover a large area very quickly. Give an impression of leaves. Oh, lovely. And a little vine coming through. Get the vine curlicue out there. They have an almost pastel-like feeling when they're used dry. Take a good look. Ah, that'll show it. Now let's try with the magenta and warm up the outer end of the petals. We've got violet, we've got blue, let's go with magenta. These mix beautifully. I'm not going too heavily because, like the Inktense pencils, a little goes a long way. You'll see that when I get at it with the water brush. How fast this will all turn very, very bright. You can actually do fabric painting with these too, though I believe the people who do that best with that, they heat set it to make it permanent so you can run it through the wash machine. Give it a go. Give it a try if you like painting on t-shirts or anything. Just test it first and then put your test into the wash machine to see how well it launders. Silk painters love these. And of course you can fill in a lot of broad areas with the sticks, more than you can. Now with the water brush, you want to squeeze the handle a little bit, just get some water coming through to get the tip wet, and from there it'll run continuously. Go for one color area at a time. Look at that flow. Look at how strong it gets. It will fill out completely. I can still see a few of my linear elements, but just the one petal I washed, wham, it's there, it's in ink, it's dark. You can see it from across the room. Let's do that to some more petals here. Go very fast, loose, use strokes that follow the lines that you did. Directional strokes help a lot. Now once this is down, when it dries, it's not going anywhere. If you want to clean off your water brush, wipe it on a cloth, or in my case on my pants because they're black. I don't worry about that too much, but you might if you wear nice clothes. I usually paint wearing black sweats that I don't care if I get color on them. I've always done that. That or a white t-shirt that I turn into a display thing for painting. Now here we go, the flower's almost washed. When you're changing colors, clean off the water brush with a rag. See my fabulous painting rag. Run some water through it and just keep swiping it till it comes up clean. Test it on your hand. That's what I do. Now let's get some of the greens. You will get some unintended mixtures, but that's like using watercolor. You can get some beautiful effects that way too. Violets and greens. The greens are very close to yellow, so they'll somewhat mute each other. That's alright though. Helps to bring down the intensity of the color, because Inktense is truly intense. Look at how huge that effect is. And let's turn this into one big leaf here. Ah, there we go. I had some leafy shapes. I have some other leafy shapes going here. Let's just get spontaneous. This one is very loose, very expressionist. I'm not trying for realism here, but I could. Each of the blocks has 4 distinct, very sharp colors, like I used here to do the lines on the flower. There's one thing to watch for. If you see dark areas that still look dry, color will still pick up on them. So if you need to add a little color anywhere else, go hunting down those little dry patches and pull it in from there. And there you have it, a finished clematis painting done with Derwent Inktense Blocks. Now, one last thing about these. They have a texture that's a little softer than the Prismacolor one, much as I wouldn't believe that, because Prismacolor are about the softest colored pencils ever used. This white, the antique white, is a little bit off-white, it's a little bit of a warm white, and you can scumble with it. If you ever want to have, on a watercolor painting, an area go back into the mist, soften up, lighten up, into the fog, try just scumbling with the antique white. Some of my petals here got a little bit dark, so I'm just going to bring in a few highlights with the white pencil. I'm not going to wash those because the antique white isn't a strong color like the colors. Instead, I used wet over dry and managed to have a softer, lighter color here where I used it. This is wonderful if you're doing watercolor landscapes. When you're doing a landscape, you want to have that misty effect in the far distance. Your far distant mountains, that they're blue or they're violet. Your distant trees where they're turning gray-blue. That antique white scumbling over a watercolor is going to make it so perfect. It's very hard to add white again over watercolor, but this is going to be one of my most useful sticks. I'll probably order some single extras in the antique white just to do watercolor landscapes. So there you have it. That's Derwent Inktense Blocks. They're well worth it. All pigment, no waste. You can get them at pencilsforartists.co.uk. They're not available in the US yet. The Brits have the advantage because most of the online suppliers in England and most of the good English art supply places do have them. USA has to wait on a distributor called Colart, but pencilsforartists.co.uk will ship to the United States at a reasonable price. It's worth the international shipping if you don't want to wait the few months. So, give these a try. And also look out for the grate and shake and the grippers. I haven't gotten any of those to try, but the grater looked really good, especially for having liquid ink out in the field.